Good morning, Faith UCC.
That's a way to start a service. Woo. Good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Faith United Church of Christ. I wonder if you'll join me in our gathering litany on this fine and not stormy anymore Sunday morning here in Dunedin, Florida at Faith United Church of Christ. Something Something moved us this morning. We left behind a sufficiency of sleep, hopefully, or maybe a restless night. We got dressed and ate breakfast. We left our homes to come here.
And now we gather in this space, seeking an experience of the holy, amidst a community journeying on the path of faith together.
May ours be a faith that is both awake and moving, open to the experiences of wonder and awe that are exploding around us in every moment.
And may we answer the call to live with eyes wide open to the beauty that surrounds us and be the love that the world desperately needs more of.
Let us rise up in body or spirit and sing a great song for this day, One Ohana, which means one world.
All
something or what? Now I'm questioning myself. I'm questioning everything in life right now. You know, I think we just found a fun skit, though. We could do a dialogue during the hymns. I think I kind of like that. That'd be a lot of fun. Well, good morning, everybody. Oh, welcome to Faith United Church of Christ on this beautiful Sunday morning here in Dunedin, Florida, and a special welcome to anybody that's on, all of our friends online with us. We're delighted to have you with us wherever you are coming from. A special welcome to any visitors, especially if you're visiting with us today, whether in person or online, we say welcome. If you're in person, we have a friendship book on the table in the gathering space. You can go ahead and leave your information if you would like to, and we'll get you on our newsletter mailing list, keep you apprised of all the things that we have going on here. And if you're online, just go ahead and send a note to our office@faithucc.org. We'll get you on that same email list. And if you're online with us, as we always say, remember to go ahead, if you're on Facebook, like, and if you're on YouTube, and share, and if you're on YouTube, subscribe. So helps it.
There too.
They can like there too, yes. You just like it and share it. How about that? Let's do more of that stuff and bolster up that online audience. So, hey, we're going to try and roll through this service today. I'm going to try and be a little less winded today. It's already not going well, is it? It's already going off the rails. Because we're going to the Holocaust Museum today. We've been waiting for this day for several months now. And with Tony Rindy just having been here, we're going to, a whole bunch of us, I think there's like 40-something people going. So we're going to venture on down. We got to be down there by 1:30, so maybe you have some time after the service to grab a quick bite. Get down. I think they want us there by 1, actually. The tour starts at 1:30, so yeah, we want to be there by 1 o'clock. So, yeah, 1 o'clock. I was going to say it more at the end, but I'll just say it now. Good news is they have offered to cover our cost because we made a $500 donation to them, to Tony. And I was like, well, that's cool, but we really wanted to make the donation to them, for work they need to do. So if you, I want to throw it out there and do our due diligence. If you would like your $9 back, you are definitely welcome to it. If you want to just see it as a further donation to the Holocaust Museum, $9, to tour through there. That's to see some really moving stuff. And I've never been there. This place is really powerful from what I've heard. So, you can just consider it then a donation. If you're like, heck no, I want my $9 back. See Barbara, she'll be at the back door after the service, and she's got, pockets full of cash. So, as usual on a Sunday morning, right, Barbara? And can I see a hands of who's going? Who's all going? And how about that hands? Keep your hands up if you're willing to take a couple people in your car. I got room for one more, so we got a few hands. We got at least 3, 4, or 5 hands out there. So, how about see Barbara if you want to ride right after the service, and we'll go ahead and kind of coordinate some carpools. Yeah, go ahead, Barbara.
How about raise your hand if you want to ride?
There you go. We'll get you there. This is going to be really easy, I think, isn't it? So, yeah. So, any questions on this? Talk to myself or talk to Barbara right after our service, and we'll have a really powerful and meaningful experience down at the Holocaust Museum today. And with all the anti-Semitism that's on the rise again out there, it's a fitting time that we're taking a community of faith down to partner with our Jewish sisters and brothers to say enough is enough on this. So, and if you haven't signed up to go, you can go, because especially now with our blanket of, anybody who wants to go can go for free. So if you were like, hey, you're visiting with us, and you're like, I want to go, you are more than welcome. And if you need a ride, we'll find you a ride. So talk to me, talk to Barbara, and we will get you down there to have a powerful experience. More announcements to come towards the end of the service. I wonder if let's just have a moment of centering ourselves and find yourself in a comfortable position and get your back straight and shoulders back, and take a few breaths. Center yourself in this moment, in the spirit of this moment, and the God experience of this moment of community and togetherness. And you breathe in a sense of peace and goodness and wholeness. And when you exhale, maybe try and let go of some of that anxiety that you're holding inside that likes to sap our spirits. Don't let it do that today. Let it go as best you can. Present moment as you breathe in, as you breathe out. Beautiful moment. Try that a couple times. I'm going to read an interpretation on Psalm 19. We're going to talk about the Psalms today in sermon, especially that great famous 23rd Psalm that you all know so well. And I found this interpretation of Psalm 19 I thought was really beautiful, especially for our Earth Month that we're still in. The heavens declare God's grandeur and the radiance from which they arise. Each dawn tells of God's beauty. Each night shines with God's grace. Their testimony speaks to the whole world and reaches to the ends of the earth. In them is a path for the sun, who steps forth handsome as a bridegroom and rejoices like an athlete as it runs. The sun starts at one end of the heavens and circles to the other end, and nothing can hide that heat. God's universe is perfect, awing in mind. God's truth is subtle, baffling the intellect. God's law is complete, quickening the breath. God's compassion is fathomless, refreshing the soul. God's justice is absolute, lighting up the eyes. God's love is radiant, rejoicing the heart, more precious than the finest gold, sweeter than honey from the comb. Help me to be aware of my selfishness, but without undue shame or self-judgment. Let us always feel you, O God, present in every atom of our lives. Let us keep surrendering to ourselves until we are utterly transparent. Let our words be rooted in honesty and our thoughts be lost in your light. Unnamable God, my essence, my origin, my lifeblood, my home. Psalm 19. With those beautiful words, let us journey ever deeper into our time of worship together with our choir.
In this very room Our scripture passage this morning is the lectionary psalm for the day, that timeless classic, the 23rd Psalm. Hear these words written millennia ago that still speak deeply meaningful words to us all these years later. Has there ever been a more profound work of writing? Perhaps, or perhaps not. Let us hear the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
I'm into that. Words. It's amazing. Weren't you cutting a rug and dancing last night? Did I see on Facebook for your Friday night? And now you're reading the 23rd Psalm in church. You never know. He was getting down on Facebook. You should have seen this guy. Now he's here delivering the most profound psalm reading to us. Funny. And happy birthday, by the way. So the great theologian Walter Brueggemann, one of the best, the most insightful Old Testament scholars and really public theologians in the world today, he once wrote of our Psalm 23 today that Larry just read for us. He wrote, quote, "It is almost pretentious to comment on this psalm. The grip it has on biblical spirituality is deep and genuine. It is such a simple statement that it can bear its own witness without comment." End of quote. Well, Brueggemann then went on to comment on this psalm for about 5 chapters. After writing that statement, but how could he not, How could he not? It is, after all, perhaps, Larry said in the intro, one of the most important and meaningful, pieces of writing composed ever, based on how many lives it has touched over the last 2,500 years and how many lives it still continues to touch today, so far removed from its ancient composition. I believe its staying power is obvious. It speaks to all facets of our lives, wherever we find ourselves in the midst of the joys or the struggles, fears, and the evils that befall or surround us. But then it goes on, and it dares to proclaim that in the midst of those realities, we are held by a power that sustains us in all times. It's no wonder this short, powerful piece of writing is so timeless and so cherished. Now, so many of the Psalms are, in fact, though the 23rd does seem to have a really special place for so many people. But for me, I really like to think the Psalms are the most meaningful of scriptures in the entirety of the biblical canon, for they are what they are. They're just there. They are what they are. They don't pretend to be anything other than what they were written to be. Experiences of life in relation to this grand mystery that we're all trying to grapple with and understand, that we name God, both communal and individual. And they're not like the other scriptures. They're not like so many of the other scriptures, which are so often things to be believed, or that often appear way too hard to be trying to prove something. So much of the Gospels are that way, but not the Psalms. They're not to be believed at all. They're not to prove anything. In fact, they are just meant to be lived and simply experienced as someone else's experience of God in the past. The Psalms, in fact, were created roughly over like 5 centuries. I know the story is David sat down and penned however many Psalms they are. It's not true. You're still going to hear it today. I'm sure it's lectionary, so it's being preached all over. And I'm sure there's people, David sat down and wrote Psalm 23. No, David didn't sit down and write Psalm 23. But they're written by all sorts of people, women, I firmly believe women, and men over time, who were writing amidst all sorts of times. I mean, we're talking 5 centuries here, and those times were good and they were bad. And you know what the cool thing about the Psalms are? They were often set to music. These were musical pieces, and they were sung in worship settings and seasons to reflect the realities that were unfolding mainly around Israel, both in the good times and in the not so good times. But they have transcended that original context, and they become something much more universal, for they speak both to and from the universal experience of what it means to be human, what it means to be a human being, the human condition, as we call it, and all that life throws at us. And it sometimes seems to throw the sink at us, doesn't it? So when you sit down and read through the Psalms, I know you're all going to do that this afternoon. You're going to go dust your Bible, blow the dust off your Bible on the shelf, big cloud. I'm just kidding. You're going to go find that Bible and you read these Psalms, and you're going to see that they're set amidst the backdrop of some are set against the different times. Like some are set against the backdrop of really good times. You're going to see that some others are really painful or plea-like in tone for those times when the world just seems really bleak, and others are really hopeful, envisioning a future that maybe doesn't even yet exist, but confident that there will come a day when the times will be much better. Some express only one of these states in life. That's the role of the psalm, but others weave you in and out and reflect several states, moving from loss or deep anxiety to a sense of goodness or being found, or moving from despair to courage, and almost some of them being invincible. These are all in there. In fact, Brueggemann, I mentioned earlier, has a really meaningful way of categories in the various fields of the Psalms, and I find it really helpful. He identifies 3 types, or maybe better said, 3 movements of Psalms and in the lives of those that wrote them. The first he calls a place of orientation, meaning Psalms that reflect on times when things are good. And who doesn't love to sing a good psalm when times are good? Life is generally devoid of tension and stress, and there seems to be a sense of order. Psalm 47 says, "All you people, clap your hands, shout to God with joy." That's really the essence of the entire psalm. Things are good. Life is good. It's a time to celebrate. The second place that the Psalms reflect on is what he calls a place of disorientation. Kind of a term for today, meaning a time of difficulty or distress or absence or powerlessness or perhaps fear. Now, life in these times feels off kilter, and times can seem really hard. Disorientation there can seem to be a little sense of hope, and things are, again, really bleak. And those of you that have ever read Psalm 137 know what I'm talking about. Happy is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks. Not happy-go-lucky stuff. No, not happy-go-lucky stuff, but things are pretty bleak. But the third category, Brueggemann calls reorientation, a time of renewed hope, as though we've been pulled from those terrible times with like a renewed sense of gratitude or courage or joy, and especially confidence. So again, some Psalms exhibit only one of these things, these states of being, yet others are rhythmic and move through a sense of orientation through this terrible period of disorientation and into the light of a new day. Those are what we consider the most powerful Psalms, and today's Psalm 23 is exactly that. I mean, just look at it. Do you all know it by heart? Do you know this Psalm by heart at this point? Do you think you could recite it by heart? Yeah? Anybody want to try? No, I'm just kidding. On that spot here. It begins, you all know it, the Lord is my shepherd, and it's metaphorical. Let's just recognize we're speaking metaphorically here. It's someone doing this metaphor. It's beautiful. But it says, the Lord is my shepherd. And it talks of like a trusted, gentle guide who leads us to the beauty and the lushness of a green pasture or calm, still waters, a great sense of peace and tranquility. Life is good, right? And with God as your shepherd, you're always on the right path and you're going in the right direction and you're kind of just guided by this eternal presence like you're always living in Joel Osteen's church. It's just going in a great direction. Life's in balance, and God is just leading the way to all the good things in life. And there's no tension, no worry, just a lot of peace. But then comes verse 4, and suddenly things get really bleak. And we hear how our psalmist sings of walking through the darkest of valleys. Now, many of you were probably raised with that translation that we read today, in the valley of the shadow of death. And that is the reason why generally about the only time you ever hear this psalm is at what? Funerals, right? As though it was only talking about death and the dying process. But the image of the darkest valley, it's so much richer. And it opens this psalm up to all those times, not just about death, but about when life just seems tough and really hard. And in Brueggemann's words, disoriented or out of control or anxiety-laden and fearful. So we need to broaden that out because this psalm can relate to way more times than our own funerals or someone else's funeral. It can relate to every aspect of our lives when the times are hard. The psalmist then speaks of evil, indicating that something was not quite right and good for our writer, that truly times were heavy with fear, but the psalmist doesn't dwell there for very long, but shifts now to the future where goodness and mercy and kindness will follow them, as they say, all the ways of their day. And it offers this incredible image, if you caught it, of a renewed sense of peace by saying, yes, there is evil and darkness and difficult times. We have so much to fear, but we're not going to let it shake us. We're not going to let it shake us. So the psalmist gives us the greatest of gifts in this image of peace in the midst of those awful times, whatever they are for us. And they lay out this vision of a table prepared and a feast with a cup overflowing. I mean, this is a really beautiful image, and it's right there in the smack of all the pain and the evil and the fear or whatever's going on, as he or she calls it. Imagine in the worst of your times, you just envision a table spread for you, and you're just enjoying the goodness of life. We've been given the gift of a wide interpretive lens on this image and metaphor, and that is that wherever you find yourself, whatever is befalling you in the particular situations in your life, whatever darkest valleys that you find yourself in, the psalmist is saying, I've been there. But you too have a presence within and around you that will sustain you through those darkest of valleys and into the light of a new horizon. Don't linger long, in other words, in the times of disorientation and fear, for you are a part of an unfolding and unfathomable holy mystery that you cannot even begin to explain, but can only trust is present. We call that unfathomable mystery God. That's the closest we can come to naming it with our limited language. And this psalmist, in my opinion, captured the entirety of the God mystery beautifully in those ancient hills, putting words to music and reflecting on the peace that God instills in even the toughest of times if we can just trust it. Now, it goes without saying that this is a perfect psalm for us in these rather, God dang it, disoriented times, right? I have a feeling Psalm 23 has been prayed and read a lot in the various things that people have been going through the last couple of years. We are living in heavily disoriented times. Let's not run from it. Let's just own it. In fact, the psalm really kind of came up at the perfect time in electionary, I think, today. And for many of us, I know, feel as though we're living. God, we're just constantly in a valley, constantly living amidst the darkest valley, amidst life's ever-increasing stress and division and fear and, my God, the discriminations. that are out there and the growing judgmental and exclusionary nature of our civic culture these days? Doesn't it all just seem really disorienting? We feel it perhaps as we grapple, with changes in our lives, or aging, or health issues, or issues in our families that we love and that we cherish. The valleys are wide and the valleys are deep. We feel it as we grieve losses of loved ones and grieve the losses maybe of the harmony that we once felt in our nation and in our world and just in our ways of life. The valleys are wide and they can be deep and they can be really, really dark. The disorientation can be powerful. But the psalm reminds us that those bad times, these days, and the uncertainty and the fear and the anxiety, though they will happen. We know this, right? They happen. It's not where we're meant to live and dwell. And it's not truly our natural or normal state. That what Brueggemann called those reoriented lives, that is truly the way of life that we are supposed to live. So this beautiful psalm, and the one who first sung it or wrote it, reminds us again that we can't stay, as my favorite Christmas song sings, amongst life's crushing loads. But we have to keep walking through the shadows of the valley, always looking forward, searching for the light that we trust is coming. We have to trust it's coming. We have to trust it's there and it's waiting for us. We have to keep confident that we too sit amidst that table, that table of good things and even the most terrible evil and division and fear surrounding us, that even those things don't have a say over us, even though they will seem to, but that there are good days ahead, that goodness and mercy, as the psalmist said, is just around the corner. We have to trust these days will not win in the end. That is not just lip service from me either. Well wishes for the future of the kind of stuff to make us feel better, Mike, just get up there and make everybody feel better. Just for a short time before we all go back to the panic. Sunday afternoon. The psalmist didn't offer us softball words for challenging times. For you know what? Whoever wrote those words, whoever sat down and penned those words, whoever quilled those words was going through something really hard. Because you don't write about being in dark valleys that way in life if you haven't been there, They knew that was not their destiny. Goodness was. And just as you don't write about being in those darkest valleys without having been there, likewise, you don't write about the presence of that which we name God and peace like this without having experienced that as well. So trust my words is what the psalmist is saying. And your valleys will be bathed with light as well, and you, like they believed, can overcome anything. That's the power of these psalms. They're just beautiful. Speaking of the power of this Psalm 23, there's no song more powerfully reflected of its vision than a song I'd like us to sing now as we conclude the sermon time. It's a classic song you all know called Precious Lord. Favorite probably of many of you. And the reason I want to sing it is because it was this psalm that inspired a young man named Thomas A. Dorsey. Now, don't be confused with Tommy Dorsey as I was. Though they're both amazing musicians in their own right. He wrote this song. If you ever wonder where it came from, because it's a timeless classic like Psalm 23, he wrote it against a really dark valley, the backdrop of a really dark valley. You see, Dorsey was becoming a well-known gospel singer and songwriter in the 20s and into the 1930s. You could say his life, in Brueggemann's language, was oriented towards a time of thriving goodness. And he got married to the love of his life, and they were going to have their first child, and his fame was spreading. And Thomas, I'm going to call him Thomas when it mix him up with Tommy Dorsey. Thomas, though his wife was close to giving birth, he was still singing and traveling because he was getting so popular. And he went to St. Louis for a big gospel revival where he was slated to be the main singing act. And he got there and the crowds were huge and he dazzled them and he was on top of the world. Life was good. Life was great, actually. So he sang and sang and he was exhausted. And finally, the story goes, he had a chance to sit down and just take a rest. As he did, a messenger found him and delivered the message that his wife had died while giving birth. So shocked, Thomas rushed back to his hometown where it was confirmed that she did indeed die, while giving birth. But the baby, a son, had lived, but only till nightfall. So he buried them both in the same casket a few days later, and he journeyed into what can only be described as one of the darkest of valleys imaginable. He walked that valley, and as he did, the story is he felt God was powerfully with him in this time of unbearable grief, and this took over time. God was never leaving his side, even as his world just completely fell apart. And he used that trust, like our psalmists, like so many of those ancient psalm writers that left us these beautiful works. He used that to climb out of that valley and claw his way back up into the light and to trust, man, there's still goodness in this world and there's still goodness ahead for him. That the pain of the valley he was walking would never be his final say, regardless of what he just went through. And through that journey, he ended up writing one of the greatest songs of all time, Precious Lord, Take My Hand. I'm not going to sing it for you. You are in a second. This is not my Obama moment, trust me. We'll get that later. He wrote one of the most powerful songs ever written, Precious Lord, Take My Hand. And to me, this shows us that like our psalmist long ago, he or she that penned that beautiful work, or like Thomas Dorsey in 1932 when he wrote that song, like so many of the Holocaust survivors whose stories that we're going to hear today, when we go to this museum in just a bit. Well, it shows that like them, we too can rise up even from the worst of times and say with our ancient psalmist and their trust, their vision, their words, their song, that surely, no matter what happens in life, goodness and mercy will follow me all of the days of my life. And we will dwell in the house of this incredible mystery that we name God our whole lives long. And that is the story. I wonder if we'll rise up in body or spirit now. I think when you want to sing this one, sitting or standing. Let's just sit and sing. Oh, wait, no, this is a little more gospel-y. It's like, okay, let's rise up in body or spirit, folks. We're living on the fly here. Let's sing this beautiful song together that Thomas A. Dorsey wrote. It's a living version of Psalm 23. Great song for us to take into our week. Precious Lord, take my hand.
Lord,
Amen. Please be seated. What a beautiful song that is. To hear you all singing it too, that song really means something to you, I can tell. Because you belted that out like you don't belt out most hymns. I love it. It's great. The song means a lot to us, as does Psalm 23. So I hope you found some meaning in that little story. And when the times are hard for you and really tough, I hope you maybe turn to that psalm and just look at it and go, all right, people have been here before. I can get through anything. Amen. Hey, some concerns and joys here before we roll into a time of prayer. I want to continue to lift up Gary Hart in your hearts and prayers. Gary had his pacemaker in last week. He was in the hospital over the weekend, and he came home on Thursday. He's still really weak. He hasn't gotten his full energy back, but he's working on it. He's got some physical therapy in the next week. So hopefully we'll get our Gary back. He was just too tired to come today, but hopefully next Sunday we'll see him here. And if anybody wants to volunteer in the garden, you know that's Gary's home, and I think he's been ordered out of that garden for at least 2 weeks. Hopefully he can just come sit in the garden, but let's do the work for him. So some of you are already out there, and thank you so much. But if you're looking to pitch in with your green thumb, you're like, I want to get in there and do some watering or plant some things or whatever, talk to me, or just come into the garden anytime. And there's hoses out there, there's things to do. So we'll do it for Gary, but I know he wants to get back out there, so hopefully really soon. So hold Gary in your hearts and prayers. Hold Ruth Ann Richwine in your hearts and prayers. Ruth Ann fell the other night and broke her hip. She had surgery on Friday. She's keeping her trademark Ruth Ann sense of humor, of course, and I'm just waiting to hear if she's going to go to rehab or head home. I'm not sure which of those yet. Maybe I'll know by the end of the service, but hold Ruth Ann in your hearts and prayers, and this time of probably physical therapy and rehab for her. Also, continue to hold Elise and Taylor. Hold Rosemary, in your hearts and prayers, going through a time of transition. And Chuck and Pam, I know they're home with us today, and their family. Hold them in your hearts and prayers as well. I want to just invite anybody, if you want to name anyone, just a name is fine, but I was really inspired by the synagogue visit we did, and they just kind of went around and named names. And, we have a new roadcaster over here that really picks up the sound nicely in the congregation now. So just if there's names that you want to lift up, I just want to take a moment of silence and invite you to lift those names aloud if you'd like to. In prayer.
Tom and Pam McCloskey.
Sasha Carolina.
Leona Dodge.
Cheryl Turner.
Tom Stallings.
Catherine Schley.
Daniel Harrington.
Randy Howell. Mary Frances Ellison. Dick and Marina Ambrose.
I have one more given to me by Leslie. Hold her for dear friend Sasha. You might have mentioned it, Leslie. Hold Sasha in your hearts and prayers. Who fell yesterday and just could use our prayers. So Sasha as well. Will you join me in a moment of, a little deeper moment of prayer? The rhythms of precious Lord, stir in our hearts still, and with the joys that we hold within us, and for the concerns that we hold in our hearts and those that we've lifted aloud. Let's just take all of that with us into a little deeper moment of stillness and silent prayer together. as we continue this time of stilling our minds and our bodies and our spirits, let us do so with the beautiful words of Howard Thurman, great theologian, and his beautiful prayer to guide us. Lord, Lord, open unto me light for my darkness. Open unto me courage for my fear. Open unto me hope for my despair. Open unto me peace for my turmoil. Open unto me joy for my sorrow. Open unto me strength for my weakness. Open unto me wisdom for my confusion. Open unto me forgiveness for my sins. Open unto me tenderness for my toughness. Open unto me love for my hates. Open unto me thyself for myself. O Lord, Lord, open unto me, open unto us. For our world and all places of suffering, for our loved ones who are hurting, lift up places in the world as well, like Sudan in these days, went through such hard times, and always Ukraine, of course, and other areas where poverty reigns and oppression is so rampant. War wreaks havoc. Let us lift the world and its peoples in our hearts, refugees and immigrants, asylum seekers, farm workers, all who struggle daily. And of course, those that we know and love, we lift them as well to the great mystery that we name God, the great hope and love in the universe. We lift them this day. Finally, let's join our voices together, pray an ancient version of that ancient prayer that our brother Jesus taught us to pray from those ancient hillsides long ago. We call it the Lord's Prayer, and it's a vision of debts overcome and all people having what they need, and in a new realm of God descending on the earth and becoming manifest among us. It's a beautiful prayer. Let's join our voices and please choose your most cherished image, whether that be Father or Mother or Creator, whatever that is for you. Will you join me? Our Creator, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Amen. We got a couple of announcements to share with you today. Of course, the Holocaust Museum, I already mentioned that. See Barbara for any questions, or myself, and I will get you in the right direction and find some carpools and head on down and let's have a really powerful experience and then share some of that next week, how we felt, when we come back next week. Social Justice Team Gathering is Tuesday night, May 2nd. Carl Von Meigen wants you to bring your passion to the table. So Tuesday night, we'll be meeting the gathering space here, 7 o'clock. Come on out and join us if you can. Out to Lunch Bunch is going to be this kind of cool little thing we got going. Natalie and Christine are kind of are leading this, and they're going to do Cheesecake Factory. Great place, that Cheesecake Factory. They have great cheesecake there. Did you guys know that? It's amazing. So I heard. May 7th next week. Talk to both of them, or either Christine or Nat.
What I'm going to do is next week I'm going to ask you to announce it again, and by a show of hands, just say how many are coming,
There you go.
and then we will call ahead.
Yeah, no pressure. You want to go to lunch? Go to lunch. And it sounds like a great time. You call ahead and make a reservation. So, excellent. A comedy night. It's coming up. I stretched it out there. It's May what's the date on that?
20th.
May 20th. Can't read my own stretching over there. May 20th, 7 p.m. Sounds like a really fun night of just comedy. A bunch of people are doing skits and different things. And if you want to be a part of it, I assume you still can, right? Those of you organizing it, I bet they can. Contact Whitney Rao, and if you need her information, either call the office or talk to me, and we'll get you on the what are the comedy? Do they call it the bill or something like that? Get you on the bill comedy bill for the night, but it sounds like a lot of fun. So do come on out for that. And finally, for all your giving, we had 244 more pounds of food last week to donate to Dunedin Cares. Thank you so much for all your donations. We'll find out our totals. We're well over 1,300 pounds for the peanut butter and jelly drive. That is awesome. That's a lot of food going over there for the food drive. So we still have till tomorrow, right? You want to contribute today? You before you go to the Holocaust Museum, run over to Publix, shove all the peanut butter and jelly in your cart, and come drop it off before you go. Is there a BOGO right now? There's a BOGO on peanut butter. Should we just do a Faith UCC trip over to Publix and just clean them out? We're stocking those shelves and feeding our hungry neighbors, and that is awesome. So thank you for all you give. And if you're with us today and you're like, I want to make a love offering to this place, we do have plates on the back table. If you're online with us, just go to our website, PayPal and Vanco, available to you on our Give link on the website. For Shannon, we got a lot of really cool services coming up. Here I thought May was going to be quiet. I don't know what happened. May has now blown up out of control. It's great stuff. May and June, ending at the end of May with our Pride service. I mean, we really have like the next 8 weeks are going to be really special here. So come on out and see us every week. Spread the word. Tell your friends. And let's get more and more folks filling our limited seats that we have here and joining us online. So thank you. That's my way of thank you for all of your great giving. Okay, now we got a little something special to do. Yeah, I think you're applauding because it's 11:25. We're almost done with the service. That's some kind of record. Michelle and Ron. Is Ron here today? Is he? Where is he? Oh, he's hiding. He's hiding in the back. Go figure. Ron, and Ron are getting married next week. The choir said we want to sing a little something special to kind of send them off. So Ron, in just a second, I'm gonna come get you, and you're coming up front in just a second here. Oh, you got to, because I want, as the song ends, let's applaud them out of here to send them off to get married next week, and then we're gonna do a little something special the first Sunday in June. Yes. The first Sunday in June here to celebrate their wedding and their love as well, because they want to celebrate with this community as well. So, but today, let's just send them out of here. This is the last Sunday as a non-married couple here at Faith UCC. Woo! So our choir's going to take it away, and I wish you to. Oh, come on up, Ron. Come on up. I don't have to come back and drag you up here. You can share your music and get right next to your bride-to-be. And we'll conclude our service today with these two, this wonderful couple. They'll leave here today, and the next time you see them, they'll be a married couple. So take it away, choir.
Will
just too good today. I wish you a blessed week. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week. One more round of applause as our soon-to-be